So today, I wasn't too sure about our performance today against Fulham. Obviously, this is the programme. It's not obvious because I don't know why I said obviously. It's one of those habits, right? Like our habit of letting goals in after we take the lead. Two games in a row now. Schalke first, 2-0 up, and then we let them get back into it. And today, more of the same, but it was worse because we were at home. Um, Positive. So let's look on the positive side. I sound really miserable, but yeah, of course I'm miserable because of the last what happened in the last minute with Arteta taking the spot kick. Why did Arteta take it? Why not Giroud? Giroud was on fire. He was the positive. Even the first half, I was complaining like crazy about how the game was panning out. But even in the first half, I realised that Giroud was our only hope. Our only hope of salvaging something from that game was Giroud's performance. He didn't start the game like he was a man possessed or anything like that. But as the game went on, he was the only one that didn't really let himself down going through the team. I mean, Manoni had one of his bad days at the office. He had a pretty good game against Schalke, if I remember correctly. It seems so long ago, even though it's just a few days. But anyway, he wasn't at his best, and he tried some silly pass. I think it was to Koscielny that didn't. Well, he just about got away with it, only just. And at this point, that's when I started to worry about a two-goal lead. Our two-goal lead was very undeserved, by the way. I didn't think we did a lot to deserve it, other than Giroud getting his head on a Theo Walcott corner, and did he make contact? I mean, it went like a bullet. Typical Giroud goal. I think we're going to see a lot of those, and that's my only reason to be cheerful actually. Then Podolski managed to score as well from an Arteta kind of low cross around about the 6 yard box, and he nipped in. He didn't do a lot else, Podolski. I was very disturbed by Santi Cazorla's first half performance, although in the second half he really picked up his game and started to play quite well. But I didn't hardly notice he was on the pitch in the first half. Theo was a little bit quiet, but not very. He did cause Fulham problems both halves. Giroud, as I said, to me he was our best player. But the defence, what I want to say is this: Vermaelen for me is not really, well, we all know he's not really a left back, but can you really put hand on heart and say he's doing a better job than Andre Santos? Me personally, I would. I'm not sure I'll do it right now because there's been too many things upsetting the team as it is. But I would consider bringing Andre Santos back because even though he's not the best defensively, we all know that, but he is very good going forward. Vermaelen didn't offer much in the way of a sort of foraging runs from his left back position. Neither did Bakary Sanya. He didn't do it as much as usual. He managed to get a couple of crosses in, but he wasn't himself at all. I was surprised. Okay, he's been out injured for a long time, but he came back and seemed like he hadn't been away. Well, now he seems to have gone a step back, but I suppose that happens when players get injured and are out for a long period of time. When they come back, they might hit the ground running or near enough, but then they do quite well for a while and then they get tired. Well, this is exactly what the problem is, in my opinion. The whole team looks tired, apart from Coquelin. Coquelin ran about like a blue bottle. I was going to say something else, but I'm going to keep it clean. He ran around, buzzed around like a blue bottle, but sometimes he was really out of position. I remember at one point he looked like he was playing centre forward. Now, I've got nothing against that in itself, but I really wanted him in the team to defend because I think that's what he's best at. He does give the ball away when he gives away silly passes. His positional play is not the best. So if it were me, I would just assign him to a player, say for instance, Berbatov. Easy to be wise with hindsight, but we all knew Berbatov was going to be a threat. I would have told Coquelin, just go with Berbatov. Wherever he goes, you go too. Stop him from playing. And now that's the sort of thing that Arsene Wenger despises, so he's never going to do that. But I would be looking at taking out Fulham's best player, who clearly was Berbatov, even though he's not the fittest player, but he makes space for himself and for others. And obviously we've found out the hard way in losing, of course, the first goal, leaving him unmarked. I'm not quite sure whose zone he was in. It seemed like everybody's zone. He was virtually in the 6 yard box when he headed in the first goal, and I wasn't happy that Manoni couldn't save it as it was straight in the middle of the goal. But then again, it was kind of close range, so I'm not going to blame Manoni too much for that. And then the second goal he created, coming in that area between the left-sided centre-back and the left-back. So again, that just goes to show, even with Andre Santos out of the team, our defensive woes have not decreased. If anything, I'd say they've increased or stayed the same at minimum, because there we are. We're very vulnerable down that side. Sanya's side seems a bit more solid, although Per Mertesacker didn't exactly cover himself in glory today. Our best defender today was Giroud, and he was our best attacker. Because when Giroud came back in the box, he was heading balls out. I was pretty impressed with him all round, and he puts in a shift. A lot of effort from him. Some of the other guys seem to be strolling through the game. Now, I'm not one of these people that normally says things like, "Oh, they're not trying." I don't buy into that. I think all professional footballers want to try for whichever team they're playing for. It's a profession. Of course, they're going to want to try, but looking at the way they played today, I can imagine a lot of fans have been walking around saying they didn't put enough in, and they're probably right. Ramsey came on and he ran around and was in some ways more effective than Coquelin, but he was also giving the ball away. And really, well, what can I say about Rambo? He does offer the team something, and his confidence is here and there. I just don't know what the answer is. Funnily enough, when I got back home, they had the Celtic player, Victor Wakayama. They was raving about how well he played against Barcelona. Of course, he scored a goal, and we were linked with him, of course, but we, for some reason, might have been money, we didn't sign him. I'm not saying we'll live to regret that decision, but looking at Coquelin, I've got to stop saying "but" like that, because it's even annoying me. But here I go again. When you look at Coquelin, how many of you out there are saying he's definitely going to make it at Arsenal? I've been one of his supporters, but here I go again. This game today was one of those occasions when I thought perhaps Coquelin isn't going to make it at Arsenal. It's a shame. I don't really want to be thinking that way. I'm trying to think of another word instead of but I can't. I can't think of anything. Anyway, I'm going to have to use but when I feel like it, all right? So anyone that gets annoyed by that word, don't. And that includes me, all right? So sometimes I get annoyed with myself. I get annoyed with the Arsenal team as well. I mean, it's a love thing, right? So anyway, as I was saying, with Coquelin, my feeling at the moment is he's not going to make it at Arsenal. I don't like even thinking it. It's probably... He's in his 20s now. He's not a youngster anymore. And this performance today wasn't too convincing. There was a lot of effort in it, and I can only admire him for his effort and his commitment to the cause. But here we go again. The but is this. His target, this is another way of saying but, by the way, keeping it positive. His target should be to really make an impression in the team and improve his passing. Because until he improves his passing, he's not good enough for this Arsenal team, I'm afraid to say. And this Arsenal team isn't one of the best Arsenal teams that we've seen, of course. In recent years, we've seen much better teams than this. I remember the days when we had Flamini and Fabregas, which weren't that long ago. And those are the days I miss, because Flamini used to run around with a purpose. Now we've got guys like Coquelin, bless his cotton socks, as they say, running around, but not with the same level of purpose or idea of what he's doing and where he's supposed to be. So I'd play him more defensively. He's not going to offer a lot going forward. How many goals will Coquelin score? Arteta he had a very strange game today, obviously giving away a penalty and then missing a penalty. What a strange game that guy had. In the first half, wasn't at all happy with his performance. The second half, he really picked up and started putting a lot more, dare I say, effort into the game. He was spraying passes around much better than he did in the first, and moving with the ball, running with it, and then passing it. That was all well and good until he got found out. The Fulham players then started closing him down and then nicking the ball off him, which was happening to a lot of our players. And it was very disappointing to see an Arsenal side give the ball away so much. So although we drew the game, I am really disappointed about this, which is why I'm finding it difficult to put a brave face on it. I was more disappointed with the Norwich away defeat. The Schalke away draw, I wasn't awfully disappointed with, purely because it's a draw in the Champions League against a good German side. And as Arsene Wenger rightly pointed out, there are a lot of good German sides in the competition. And we shouldn't feel ashamed to drop points. We only picked up 1 point from our 2 games against Schalke. And looking at Klaas-Jan Huntelaar, he's the sort of player we'd like to have. Obviously, Spurs being linked with him. A lot of people are probably thinking now we're not going to beat Spurs. I might agree with those people. I'm not saying we're going to lose, though. I think we're good enough for a draw. In fact, if fourth is now first, we're only fourth in the table. We're not actually eighth. I think we're eighth, aren't we? Eighth in the real table. In the Wenger table, we're actually fourth. And which table do you want to acknowledge? I think I acknowledge both of them. I think for finishing fourth, we should get a trophy, and it should be in the shape of a pot of gold, because of course, looking at the Champions League, that's what it's all about. It's about the money. But if it is about the money and this financial fair play that's going to come into force at some point, and then bring and make it a whole level playing field, whole different ball game, if you like. Well, I think the news this week that Chelsea have actually somehow or other turned a profit. How did they do that? With the amount of money they've spent on salaries, and not just the salaries, transfer fees. They turned a profit. And we turn a profit all the time, of course. But Chelsea are not going to fall foul of the fair play rules if they continually turn a profit, even if it's a small profit. If they break even, they won't fall foul of those rules either. So we're being sold a dream that is probably never going to come about. And this is not the first time I've said this, but the realization is even closer than it was after reading that article in the newspaper. I think it was in the Metro Wednesday or Thursday, so you might want to take a look for yourself. But I'm sure everybody's been chatting about it. But I've been kind of isolated, which is why I haven't been talking as much to you guys as I normally would. You guys, this sounds very American, doesn't it? But yeah, we're becoming more and more American every day. So why don't we sign one like Clint Dempsey? I wouldn't have minded. Yeah, before I go, just in case I think of something else, but I was just looking through the manager's notes, for instance, and he said some quite interesting things about, of course, you can never be happy if you concede 5 goals, and he was talking about the Reading game, and he said about Thomas Eisfeld in his notes, he is very interesting, I think he will feature. I think, maybe it's no wonder you can't gamble on these things, because of course, if he says he might feature, maybe that means he will. But then again, it might not mean that, because Theo never plays striker, and he said all along he's a striker. But I think I will play him on the wing, where he's less effective, because I don't want to finish first, because then it would be -3. Because does that work out right? -3 is first, and then second place is -2. And then, no, wait, that's wrong. It would be, oh, I'm getting confused. My maths is terrible. No, actually, it's not that bad, but let's not go there. It's just, it will get long. Well, what about the Ox? I was just looking through this and seeing other stuff that I didn't want to, that I'm not actually looking for. There was something else. He said something in this that was very interesting indeed, apart from about Eisfeld. Oh, he said about Szczesny. Of course, he's going to be back as the #1 keeper. And after this performance by Minoni, I'm not so sure I mind that idea that Szczesny is going to come back. And but really, yeah, his article, well, I read it all, and now I've sort of semi-forgotten it, but he was talking about Lauren Koscielny, and he's done okay, actually. He wasn't too bad today. I don't think he was really at his best, but as I said, who was in that team? Very disappointing performance. Carl Jenkinson obviously getting a call up to England, so well done to him. I was one of those people knocking him at the beginning of his Arsenal career, but now I'm one of those people praising him. And Mark Ollington called it right with the corporal, as he calls him. So well done to Mark as well. And Jack Wilshere, obviously, Arsene Wenger not happy about him being in the national team. We'll see whether he plays or not against Sweden. Hopefully not. But looking looking through, yeah, we need Kieran Gibbs back as soon as possible, even though I've said I'd draft Andre Santos back. But, here we go, another but. But apart from Andre Santos, what was... I'm sort of tangling myself up here. I can't even remember what I was talking about. I've been very ill this week. That's my excuse. It's like a Monty Python joke, you know. I'm sorry, I've got a cold. And then you sort of mistake somebody for a woman when they're actually a man. Well, I've had that happen to me. I'll tell you what happened. This is just nothing to do with Arsenal, but I went to get a coffee, and this bloke said to me, "Yes, Mum," and I didn't lose my temper. I just said, "Okay, if you're going to talk to me and I'm a woman, right? All of a sudden, you've got to give me a free coffee, because that's just the way it works." And he said, "All right." So I got a free coffee out of it. So then I thought, I'm not going to get my hair cut after all. So yeah, looking at the games ahead anyway, we've got plenty to worry about, you might say. Aren't we playing Aston Villa soon? They got beaten by Manchester United, who also seem to play that trick of going down before they start waking up and playing football. So yeah, we've got Spurs obviously next, early kickoff. Then we've got Villa away. That's a late kickoff, 5:30. Then we've got Everton. That's also away, a really tricky fixture, that one, on a Wednesday. And then who we got after that? We've got Swansea, and that's a proper 3 o'clock kickoff, and that's a home game. And then West Brom. I remember what I was going to say now. It was all about Arsene Wenger looking at the league table and saying, we only had 4 home games out of 10. Well, now, of course, it's 5, so it doesn't look quite so good. And he said, we are only 4 points. I'm not reading this out, I'm just remembering it. Oh, see, showing a little bit of intelligence here for once. For once, just capture this, because it's the only time you'll hear it. Yes, anyway, he said something along those lines, and I'm pretty sure my quote's quite reasonably accurate. He said, we are only 4 points off what we should be. I'm not sure he put it in those terms exactly, but he said basically we could have had 4 points more. So where did those 4 points come from? He seemed pretty happy with the amount of points picked up away, and I don't blame him. Obviously, 1 at Stoke is good enough. 3 at Liverpool is more than good enough. 1 at Manchester City, that's more than good enough. I had us down for 0. West Ham, 3 points there. Brilliant result. Norwich away, that's 3 points we should have had. So we should have had those 3. So that's 3 we lost. And then the Man U game, we lost that. So what? I'm not bothered about it. And I agree with Arsene. People making a big deal out of nothing there. So the Norwich game is very upsetting. So that was 3 points lost. The Sunderland home game, that must be the other. But then that makes 5 points. Okay, Sunderland at home, we lost 2 points. Southampton, obviously, we thrashed. Chelsea, we lost at home too. So maybe we deserved a point there. Or we would have thought we were going to get a point from that game, let's say. So suddenly we're talking quite a few points. We're talking at least 6 points. And that's before today. So looking at it like that, it's starting to look a bit like a crisis. I didn't really want to be so. I didn't want to be all sort of doom and gloom, but we've probably dropped. I've started to lose count of how many points we've dropped, because like I said, it's my illness. All right, it's not really bad. Don't worry about me. I don't need any get well cards, because it won't make me get well any quicker. But yeah, I've just had a bit of flu. That's all. So nothing to worry about. And one thing that people are worrying about that I'm not worried about is the goals. Where are they going to come from? Well, we saw today Giroud is going to score goals. What I'm worried about more is that we're shipping goals. And also I'm worried about Arteta playing so many games. I just think he's starting to look a little bit tired. Santi Cazorla, same goes for him a little bit, especially first half. It was like they had something special in their coffee or tea or whatever they have at half time. In the second half, it didn't immediately kick in whatever it was they had. Maybe they had bananas, because apparently they work really well. They give you that extra kind of like an afterburn effect. Hopefully not indigestion as well. But anyway, they were buzzing around in the second half, and we've got to be pleased with the some of the second half performance. Although of course we can't be pleased with the result, but ultimately it was all about that penalty, and we could have obviously had the points had Arteta converted. I say ultimately it was about the penalty, but was it? When you look again at the team, the problems they lie very deep, and they're not being sorted out, are they? Wilshere's going to be back after his suspension. That's good news for us. We need a bit more. We need a bit more of that sort of thing. Like Wilshere's one of these young players who can run around a lot, and also has that awareness. Coquelin's one of those young players who can run around a lot. It's not. I think he's improving. I really think he's improving. I don't want to say I'm not writing him off exactly. So please don't get it wrong, or as they say now, don't get it twisted, like, because I'm not saying he's not gonna make it. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm beginning to think he's not going to make it. That's all. And I'm getting quite near the point where if I were the manager, I'd give him till January, obviously, and then after January I'd get somebody else in. But we're very reluctant to bring in our own players, which brings me to another point. When was the last time we bought a decent goalkeeper? Bought, I mean, not brought in. I was thinking Lehmann. If you've got any ideas, let me know about it, because I was just thinking Arsene Wenger's record with goalkeepers isn't good at all. David Seaman, he didn't sign. He inherited him. Then there was Alex Manninger, who he destroyed in a sense. I think that's a bit harsh on Wenger. Sorry, Wenger fans, the few of you that might still be out there. But here we go with that royal butt again. The problem with the Manninger treatment was that the guy was playing out of his skin, and he still got dropped. And then he couldn't reproduce that form again. So what I'm trying to say is, when a player, particularly a goalkeeper or a striker, is playing at the top of his game, my view would always be not to drop him, even if your first choice comes back. You would have to say that Arsene Wenger has learnt his lesson from the past, having seen what happened today with Szczesny back in the reckoning, but on the bench. And I think that was a very good move by Arsene Wenger. He didn't pay off. I have to say, though, Arsene Wenger must have taken my advice in a roundabout way, or I've started to agree with him, or he's agreeing with me, because he has changed, obviously. I'm really anticipating Szczesny will be back after Manninger's performance, because it wasn't the best. He just didn't fill me with confidence. Although, having said that, his handling was pretty good. What does Arshavin have to do to get in the team? He gets us a penalty, he plays for 6 minutes. He put in a couple of good crosses, and I was one of the only people that actually cheered when his name was read out, and he came on the pitch, and I cheered, and the guy next to me gave me a dirty look, and I thought, yeah, so what? I'm entitled to my view. Probably one of the only. Well, I'm not going to go there. I'm one of the only fans probably of Arshavin. Let me put it like that. I think so. Seems like me and me alone. Although I do read sometimes people saying supportive things about what Arshavin can do. And Shamak was on the bench, which was nice. After his 2-goal salvo at Reading, he deserves to be on the bench once in a while. Who knows? He could be our saviour of the season, Shamak. So on that note, I think I'll leave you until the next time. Up the Gooners.